Hi guys, I'm going to go through how I would go ahead and create the rod support drawing. So this is for the week 6 OnShape drawing, the rod bracket. So let's go through that process. So one thing I'm going to do is just kind of a new little trick that they've added. If I open a new tab and just type CAD.new, right? I hit that, it actually takes me directly to OnShape, and it creates a new document. If you weren't logged in already, it would go ahead and ask you to log in, but it creates a new document. So it's a handy way of just kind of starting a new document. You don't have to go to the website and then choose, new and then that kind of stuff. So I am going to title this, I'll call it rod bracket. Okay. And then I've got my drawing up here in a separate window. So a couple things about this drawing that I just wanted to go over real quick. First of all, the drawing is in inches. So it doesn't actually say that on there, but I can tell, if this was in millimeters, this would be 4 millimeters. That'd be a pretty tiny little part. So typically, drawing should tell you, what units they're working with. Some people just automatically assume it's either millimeters or inches, but this time we're working in inches. And we've just got the two section or the two, plan views of this. We've got a top view right here, so looking down at the top, at the part from the top. And then we have what's called a section view. And the section view is basically if I cut this part in half, and you see this little symbol right here, right, that represents a cut plane. And so this is cut right through the center of it, and it's looking from left to right. So it's looking at the left side of that thing. So that's what this over here is. This is my section view. This little crosshatched area right here, this represents an actual cut surface. So if I were to cut this, this is what the surface of that would look like. And then these would be openings in it. So if I can kind of imagine what this looks like, it's this kind of this circular shape, and it's got a hole that goes through the center of it. That hole has a bigger opening on the back side of it and the counterbore part of it. So we'll have to put that in. And then it's got a series of holes around here for mounting it on something, some screw holes. So I can see those holes over here. So this is looking through one of the holes that has been cut in half. But there's actually 8 of those all around there, and it tells me that right here. Okay. So the other thing about this is that some of the dimensions are kind of called out in different places. So we have to kind of look up some of this things. So we have this outside circle here, okay? But notice that that dimension is not on here. It's actually over here. It's this dimension right here. So it's called out as a diameter, 4.331, right? So that's there. This circle right here represents the center line of those holes. So all those holes are sitting, on that diameter of that circle going through there. And then as we kind of work our way in here, we've got this other circle here, which is represented by this edge here. And so if I kind of go straight across, you see those line up from side to side. And then I've got another face here. So that lines up here. Notice that this is tapered a little bit right here. So we're going to have to put that in there. And then it's got another little step up here. So here's the tapered face. Here's the little step up here. And then here's the hole through the center of it. And so you can see that lines up with this right here. Okay. We've got this little dashed line here. This little dashed circle represents the back side of this hole coming out the other side. This is called a hidden line because if we were looking from the top, we wouldn't actually see that. And so it's kind of represented there by that dashed line. So let's go ahead and start creating this. I'm going to create a sketch in the top plane, and I'm going to define it primarily by this view. And so I'm going to use this as my primary sketch, and then I can just extrude most of these features out. Now, I am going to, because I've got this counterbore hole here, so instead of including that hole in my sketch, I'm actually going to put that in as a whole feature. So I'll do that after I create my part. And then the same thing with these holes around here. I'm going to go ahead and create one hole as a hole feature, and then I'll do a circular pattern of holes around there to actually place those all around there. These are not standard holes. You see they have their dimensions are called out here. So they're not like ANSI standard or ISO standard holes. That's a preferable way to do it. But that's just the way this drawing is. And then the last thing I'm going to do is I'll go ahead and put this taper in. I'm going to put this in as a chamfer. All right. So in my main sketch, I want to just make sure I include the center lines here. I want to include this circle here as a construction feature, the center lines as construction features, and then the rest of those as actual features. So I'm just going to do these 4 circles here, and plus the construction circle. This hole here will be an actual hole feature, so we'll put that in later. I do want to go ahead and make sure I indicate this intersection right here. So I'm going to put a point right here just to note where the center of that hole is, and that'll make it easier when I go to place that hole feature. Okay, so let's go ahead and start. We'll just draw 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 circles, those center lines, and then we'll make one of those circles in their construction line. So go back to here. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that my workspace units are set to inches. I set my defaults to be millimeters, but generally in the US we use inches. I'm going to go ahead and go to the top plane here. I'm going to create a new sketch, and I'm going to look at that, and then I'm going to press P on my keyboard to go ahead and hide those other frames. Okay, and so there I've got my sketch there. Now I wanted to place 5 circles on there, so I'm going to locate those, put the center of those all at the origin, and so I'll just kind of put some in there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the second one we wanted to be a construction circle. So I'm going to go ahead and select that and just make it a construction. And then I'm going to go ahead and put in some construction lines as well. So I'm going to start out here. I'm going to hover over this. I'm just going to make sure I go through that. And I'll go ahead and put another one in here. I don't really need to, but if I wanted to, if I was kind of fussy about it, I could make sure that, you know, the midpoint of those center lines are in there. But I'm just kind of using those center lines as a reference. It doesn't really matter how long they are. I do want to note that location right there. And so rather than put a circle there or anything like that, I'm actually just going to put a point there, because I'm going to draw that, or I'm going to place that hole as a hole feature. I'm not going to start out as a circle. And so there I've got that. And go ahead and put some dimensions on this. Let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to go back and check my drawing here. And so I've got 4.331. So I'll add this dimension here. 4.331. This second one, 3.465. 3.465. This right here, so this lines up with this edge here, so this is 2.362. And then the next one in here at 1.614, so that'll be this one here, 1.614. And then the last one is this outer tube here, so this is 1.22. Okay, and again, I can kind of move these around, make it a little more readable, easier to see and follow. Okay, so there I've got my general sketch in there. looks like it's fully constrained. This is on the intersection of these two construction lines, so that's fine. I don't need to actually specify a dimension there, and the dimensions of all the circles are all set. So I'm going to go ahead and say OK there. I'm going to go back to an isometric view, and now I'm going to start creating those extrusions. So the first one I'm going to do, this is sort of outside shell here. This is 0.236. So go ahead and extrude that. 0.236. Okay, and this is going to be a new part. And I'm just going to go up there, and so that looks good. So go ahead and accept that. So there's that. Okay, and we'll accept that. And then, so notice that we've created a new part down here. So I'm going to go ahead and call this part rod bracket. Okay, now all the rest of the extrusions, I'm going to go ahead and add to that. So we'll do that. And notice that once I created that first part there, that it went ahead and hid that sketch. We're going to need that sketch, so I'm just going to turn that little eye back on so I can see that. All right. So let's look at the next piece of it here. So the next part is this cylinder right here. And so this actually goes out here to 0.630. And then notice that it actually goes up an additional 0.056. So this is actually, if I look at to the top of this, right, this is actually going to be 0.630 plus 0.056. So if I do that math in my head, I get 0.686 if I add those together. So I'm going to go up to the top of this, and then we'll cut that part off to make that taper. So 0.686 is going to be my next one. So that's going to be this right here. So I want to go ahead and extrude that. And this is going to be 0.686. And I want to add this to the rod bracket. And so let's make sure that that's on there, where it's at. And so that looks good. Okay, so there's the top of that second feature there. The next one, 0.906. So that's going to be this. So we'll create a new extrusion. And again, it's going to add that to that, so 0.906. Okay, and then our last one here, 1.673. So that's the inside one. I can't see it there, so I'm going to go ahead. And I missed something. What did I miss there? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3. Oh, that's just the center part. Sorry. Okay, so let's go ahead and extrude that up. The center part here. Yeah, I would want that to be 1.673. 1.673. And again, we're going to add that to the rod bracket. So set that. So there we have our general shape there. Okay, so so now the rest of these features, I'm just going to create as part features here. So all these extrusions, so I've got 4 extrusions there, and so there's the main part of our rod bracket there. All right. Okay, so let's add some holes. Let's start with the hole in the center here. So the hole in the center here. And so I'm going to use the back of this here. So there's where it's going to be. This is going to be a counterbore hole. It's going to go all the way through. And then, so this is the depth, the diameter of the hole itself. So the diameter of the hole itself is right here, 0.787. Okay, so 0.787. And it looks like I ran through this tutorial earlier just on my own. It looks like it remembered the value. So, so those are the values that we're going to put in there. We're going to put that counterbore through there. It's going to go all the way through. And we can see there's the hole all the way through, and then we can see the counterbore in the back there. So this is the the diameter of the hole itself. This is the depth, the diameter of the counterbore, and this is the depth of the counterbore itself. Okay, so we'll go ahead and accept that. Okay, and then we want to add another hole right here. So this is going to be the first of those 8 holes that are around there. So go ahead and put a hole here, and our feature is going to be right here. Okay, now this is not going to be a counterbore. This is just going to be a simple hole. It's going to be a through hole, and the diameter of that is going to be 0.328. So 0.328. So that looks a little bit better. And we're going to go all the way through, so you can see that coming at the top there. So like that. And then we want to pattern that. We want to make a circular array of those. And so we'll come out here to our pattern. Okay, linear pattern, we want a circular pattern. All right, so, and we're not going to do a part pattern, we're going to do a feature pattern. So we're going to pattern this feature. So this feature we're going to do here is our hole 2. And the axis of the pattern, so I just want to choose one of these circles. It doesn't really matter which one, but it's just going to take the center line of that circle and put it around it. So I'll just go ahead and choose this one. Whoops. There, the axis of pattern, there we go. Right around here. And so you see it creates 4 circles. We don't want 4, we want 8. And so there, we should be good there. So we'll accept that. Okay, so it looks like we're in pretty good shape. And it looks like the last thing we need to do here is just add this chamfer on here. So when we chamfer this, we're going to cut this back from here back to here. And so it tells me the depth of that, so that's 0.56, but I don't really know this distance across here. So this distance across here would be a handy thing to do, to know. So it doesn't give me that dimension, but I do want to calculate that distance. So I'm going to bring up my calculator. Bring up my calculator here. My handy dandy calculator here, and I want to do 2.362 minus this dimension right here, 1.614, 1.614. Oops. And I've got to do that again. 2.362 minus 1.614. Okay, so it's 0.748. Now 0.748 is twice the distance that I want. It's the distance of here and here. So I only want half of that. So I'm just going to go ahead and divide that by 2. So take the answer and divide it by 2. And so 0.374. So I have a chamfer here that I'm going to put in 0.374 by 0.056. Okay, so if I switch back over here, so I'm going to put this chamfer in. Okay, it's going to go along this face, so 0.374, 0.056. So let's go ahead and add that chamfer. Okay, so I want to do this right here. So that's the edge that I want to chamfer. Okay, and I want them to be 2 separate distances. And so those distances are, and I don't remember which one is which, so I'll just try it out here. So we said 0.374 and 0.056. We'll see if that, it looks like I did. I guessed right, and I got them to the right dimension there. Now, I do want to check here. You see how that chamfer goes right up to the edge of that circle, and that's what I want. So I'm going to try some things here. If I put this in as 0.37, and let's say that I just guessed, right? Notice that I have a little flat there now. Okay. So that's not going to quite work there. That gives me a little flat there. I don't want that. I want that chamfer to go all the way up to it. And let's say that I didn't calculate right. Maybe I made it too big. So let's go 0.4. And let's just say we made it too big. So you notice what happens there is that now it's actually calculating where that's going to be, but it's not coming up to the place that I want it to be. I want it to end right here, but it's actually ending below here. And that's because it's calculating a steeper angle, or sorry, a flatter angle now. And so the end of that chamfer would actually end up somewhere inside the part there. So that's not what I want to do either. So I want to make sure that I get that calculation correct and that that's coming out right where I want it to be, which it looks like it is now. So go ahead and accept that. Go ahead and look at my isometric views here. Isometric view, top view. So the last thing I'm going to do is just go ahead and assign a material to this. And I'm just going to assign just aluminum 1070, so, or sorry, 1060. So I'll assign material. And let's go ahead and assign my material. So I'm going to do 1060 aluminum. And we'll call that good. And then we can look at the mass properties of that if we want to. Notice that I'm still in kilograms here. So if I wanted to look at that as pounds or as ounces, I could change my workspace units. I'm going to see how many pounds that's going to be. And so I got just a little over half a pound, so 0.530 pounds. All right. So that should give us all of our features there. And I think we are all set. So thanks for watching, and keep drawing.